Well, April showers definitely brought us May flowers.
And a lot of yard work.
Sure, but we still found some time in between all that mowing the lawns and cleaning up from debris to play some new to us games.
Welcome to Wisco Dice. Hey yo folks, I am your host, the Conesy with the Most, and I am joined today by...
Hey, I'm Suzanne. And today we are going to recap for you the new games that we played in the month of May.
And while we take this break from yard work, which is one of the things that have dominated our time in May, we do want to take the moment to ask you to please go ahead, if you don't mind, to subscribe to the channel and give us a like on this video. It really means a lot and helps the channel grow. And if you like what we're doing, that really is the number one thing we could ask for.
So with that, let's dive into our May games. Our first game on the list this month is Dune Imperium by Direwolf. This is a game that is based on the book series and movie Dune and has been adapted to play with up to 4 players. And it takes, I don't know, probably about an hour, 2 hours to get through. It's a nice little worker placement, deck building game. So you're collecting cards that way, and you're using resources to build alliances and to score victory points to come out as the winner.
So you might be wondering why Dune Imperium is on this list. I think we've had it on before. That's because I had a chance to play it before, but Suzanne had not. And of course, I didn't realize Suzanne was as much of a fan of Dune as she is. So after I got a chance to play it, she was like, oh, I really want to play that game. So we picked it up recently and added it to our collection. Dune Imperium does have a lot of things in common with games like Lost Ruins of Arnak and Ascension. I've seen people use a little reference to. There's a lot of little worker placement / deck building / the conflict mechanism is really neat without getting fun. Like over detailed in, like, say, a map based combat system or a hex based or territory control based system. It's just pretty straightforward. Nice. None of the mechanics are overtly complex, but that race to get to 10 victory points before your other players is a really enjoyable experience, and one that there is definitely a little ticky tacky in it.
You
gotcha moments.
Yeah.
So
there definitely are, and it's just kind of a nice game if you enjoy any other part of the Dune collection, whether it's the books or the movie or both. It has a nice theme of that storyline going through it. To me, so it was just kind of a little added bonus with a game with some decent mechanics.
I'd say though, you don't have to know the movie or the genre to actually appreciate this game. It's really clever with its use of mechanics, and was a game that I probably avoided a little bit because me personally, I haven't actually read Dune or listened to the audiobook, even though I own it. And so really my only exposure to Dune is the one movie that was recently done. That's unfortunately my Dune experience. We're going to rectify that soon, but yeah, I need to sit down and listen to the audiobook.
All right, so that was Dune Imperium by Direwolf.
Next up on the list is Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria from Daily Magic Games. So this is a game I just got to play yesterday, actually. For the first time. Justin from the audio podcast actually brought it along to a board game day that I attended, and we were able to go ahead and get it to the table. So this is a game only I got to play. Suzanne wasn't there, unfortunately. Yard work. But it was a lot of fun. Really surprisingly a lot more fun than I actually expected. So in this game, you're trying to remember exactly how it worked, but you're basically one of 5 different classical fantasy monster races. And so I think I was the orcs. And so there's like orcs, there was goblins, there were these winged like gargoyle creatures, skeletons. You could be any of these things, right? Werewolves or gnolls, I think it was. Were also in there. So what you're doing is you're taking on as the commander, and then there's these 5 location spots that you can place your commander dude to basically recruit dice that represent the different fantasy creatures that all the factions are in the game. And when you recruit those dice, those are your troops, and you're going to send those troops on missions eventually that will ultimately score you points and or potentially other rewards. So there's this really really interesting kind of mechanism where you're chasing dice, and then you're unlocking things on your player board that are those rewards after you complete missions, using those dice to be able to get more dice total in your collection. So you're only able to collect 3 dice in your collection before you have to, every time you go to get another dice, it's swapping out one of the ones you have. So you can unlock 2 more dice collection spots, or if you want to be able to plan your missions a little more in advance so that you know that this is the mission you have and you don't have to just hope that it's still sitting there in the row of missions. When you have the dice ready, there's an action spot where you can go reserve missions to your board. Well, you can unlock additional spots for that. You can unlock additional bonuses to combat strength. You could recruit extra special characters to your board. They'll either give you one-time or reoccurring or end game bonuses. So it was a lot of just like really interesting mechanics here. I actually did walk away with the win as well, so yay me. I think if we would have let it go like another turn or two, I just managed to maybe get it a little bit faster than everybody else. But this is definitely a game that I took the approach like you do. I'm gonna do one thing, and when I start the game, and then when I accomplished that, then I figured out what my next mission was, and I was going to accomplish that, and that's what I did. Like I didn't fully get or understand how the game worked when we first started playing, but because I did that, it really got me through, and yeah, picked up the win, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I want to play this game again.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to join you in the next game of it. So yeah, so that was Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria by Daily Magic Games. Up next is Kill the Unicorns by the publisher Morning. This is a game that we played at our May monthly game night at Misty Mountain Games. And one of our regular players there brought it for us to all try out. And it was great because it does play up to 6 players for it. And we had 6 of us there at the beginning of the game night. Going into holiday weekend, that was a great turnout, we thought. So in this game, each character has a special ability. There's like wizards and I think archers. There's different abilities and that you have, and then you start with a unicorn, and the mission in the game is to kill unicorns. And by killing the unicorns, they come into your keep, and then you can use them to create sets of the same color or have a whole bunch of different ones, and then you'll score points at the end of games based on that.
I think your objective was to turn them into pate and eat
yes.
them.
Yes, that's what I did. Is I killed every one of the unicorns that I acquired and turned it into pate immediately, which got me a little token for a few points. Was not the winning strategy, but it was a strategy I felt good about to actually not come in last in the game. So with this game, you have a river of 4 unicorns, and then everyone is going to play a special scheme card on one of the unicorns of their choice in the game, and then is going to, starting with whoever the first player is, they are going to bid a set of up to 3 cards from their hand, and it's in secret. They're going to bid secretly on the first unicorn, and then we're gonna see who won that one. You can do the second, third, and fourth. So this is bidding mechanic, which I am not a huge fan of. I'm not very good at it, which is why I think I don't like it so much. Which is why I was like, hey, if I win one, I'm just gonna kill it off, because I did not have high hopes that I would keep winning unicorns every round. So it's It's a nice game. It's very similar to Unstable Unicorns or any of those kind of cutesy, fun, um, very like play on words with some of the terms and the names of things that they use game. But then again, it's called Kill the Unicorns, so you might have some. It's got this darker side to it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. I'm not gonna run out and get it again, but I understand why so many people do enjoy Kill the Unicorns.
Yeah, I would say this was definitely not a game for me either. It was fun to play the time we played it. I think it overstayed its welcome. Was like it just took too long to get it done with 6 players, and yeah, it was almost if I mean, I would be interested to understand if there was a real bidding strategy to the person who won the game, but it was they ended up with like 5 or 6 unicorns in their tableau at
Oh
the
yeah.
end where like I think I was third or fourth in the of us. I was
Oh,
third, I
she
think,
definitely had a
and I had
strategy.
3, and it was like pulling teeth. It felt like it was pulling teeth to be able to try to win unicorns. And I don't, like I said, I don't know what it was, if there was a strategy or how
Oh,
you managed to manipulate 6 other people into making sure that you just were able to acquire things. It was kind of redonkulous, but it at the same time, like it was just it felt long for what it did on the table. And there are games that I like if I'm going to play something that's like lighter and sillier like this, I prefer it to be shorter, even with a larger player count. So
yeah.
it just took too long to get there.
Yeah. Anyway, that was Kill the Unicorns by the publisher Morning.
Next up on the list is Masters of the Universe, the board game Clash for Eternia from
Simon Games.
Kaman or Simon or
We're calling it
Cool Mini or
Simon.
not, whatever they want to be called, I guess. So, Masters of the Universe, the board game, I'm a huge Master of the Universe fan. I think you are as well
Oh
from back
yes.
when we were growing up as
Some of
kids,
my
watching the cartoon.
favorite play figures.
Yep, cartoon, the toys. And so here it is, a board game finally at last with beautiful sculpts for the miniatures. I was really quite blown away, quite honestly blown away with the quality of the figures. Kaman has really come a long way in the quality of their board game figures since the early days of those original Zombicide campaigns. From a gameplay perspective, there are a couple of different ways that you can play this. Ultimately, there's basically one person that controls the villain side of things. Let's just say, even though
They call him the controller.
the controller, yeah, that controls the whatever the enemy is for the game for the scenario, and then the scenario has 1 to 4 players team up to take on the controller. Now, the controller could be automated from the game itself. It does include rules so that you could just team up with your friends playing various combinations or heroes or villain characters. Classically, it's set up as a heroes versus villains, but you can mix and match any way you want. We do have the Kickstarter version, so we had an extra whole box of extra characters to play. We've gotten it to the table a couple of times,
Never with
still
me
need to
though.
get you a chance to play it. It's fun. It's pretty straightforward. It seems like the scenarios can be fairly swingy or at least are interesting. Like the various, there's no guideline in the rules to saying like, hey, these scenarios are maybe targeted better for new players versus these scenarios are targeted for more advanced players that have played the game a few times. And I've at least heard that the characters that were kind of all the expansion characters from the campaign that were just add-ons or the extra stuff that oftentimes gets added in these, particularly with a Command campaign, all the stretch goals are some of those are broken or overpowered in comparison to their the core contents characters. I played it with just the core contents, the retail contents, as well as adding in those extra characters. I thought those extra characters were pretty powerful, but at the same time, we had Orko and yeah, I think we had one character that was from the stretch goals, and then I had Orko from the core box. And Orko, once we figured out how to leverage him, actually did most of the most of the work in that mission. So that we could pull off the win because we were losing pretty bad, and then we were able to bring it back. But yeah, it's a neat little game. I actually enjoy it. If this game wasn't didn't have the IP behind it, I wouldn't probably enjoy it nearly as much. The rules, I think, there are definitely issues in the rules. Like, the rules are not very complex, but just little things like, how do you deploy? Who gets to deploy first? The characters in the scenario, I couldn't find anywhere in the rules where that's actually referenced. And then there were a couple of other interactions and whatnot where it's not there in the rules, where I think a more thought out game that had a little more dev time maybe would have addressed. So that is, if you're a huge fan of Masters of the Universe, the board game, Clash of Eternia, this is, or I should say, just a huge fan of Masters of the Universe, this is a game you probably want to check out. There is another Masters of the Universe game that was produced by another company. We actually own a copy. I just need to get time to assemble it, and then we can table it and play it. It's more of a 1v1 game where each player is controlling multiple characters. So if you would like to see us put both games head to head in a future review video, please drop a comment down below and let us know, because that's something that definitely we would be happy to try out for you.
Yes, you won't be pulling our leg with that.
Anyways, that is Masters of the Universe, the board game, Clash for Eternia from Come On.
All right, number 5 on our list today is Koba by Crossbow Games. So Koba is a game that Jonathan and Ryan at Crossbow were kind enough to send us a prototype of, so we could give it a go.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes, and we were stoked when they reached out and said, hey, you want to try out this game? We love their games so far that we have played. Most of the Crossbow games right now, they all come in a mint tin, so they're perfect for, sticking your glove box, your purse, wherever, and taking them with you. And this game is going to be no exception to that. In this game, you have 36 cards that are multi-use cards, meaning they may be the hand of cards that you have. They may be some extra cards that, are used during the game, or they are form your tableau in front of you, which is how you are going to traverse through this temple. This game plays 2 to 4 players. It takes probably about 30 minutes to play, and it's a cooperative game. So you are working with everyone else, which is a new style of game that from Crossbow has done now.
And with more than two players.
Yep. Yeah. So it should play well at any player count, too, with how this game is designed. But you are going to work together, and with very minimal discussion on what card you're going to pick, and you're going to play that card, and then you're going to try and advance your meeple into this temple. So as you're doing that, you're going to come upon different spirits which are going to do things to you. You also need to get these steps in the right order, because they must be in numerical order for you to go through them. So there's a lot of different things. They describe it a bit as a cross between the mind and Rackham. So, I mean, if you like either of those games, this is definitely a game to check out. If you don't like either of those games, this is still probably a game that you're going to want to check out. The artwork on it, oh my gosh, is amazing. It's a new artist that this is, I believe, his first game that he has designed artwork for, and it jumps off the page. I kid you not, we got the prototype, and it has the artwork on the top of the tin box. I kept rubbing my hand over it, thinking that something was off in my sense of touch, because I thought it should have been raised. That's just how great the artwork is, and that kind of continues throughout all of these cards.
So
So,
I will note that if you want to hear more about the game from the actual publisher and designers themselves, you can check out the next upcoming episode of our audio podcast available on iTunes, Google
and
Podcasts, Stitcher Smart, basically anywhere you can listen to podcasts, where Suzanne sits down with the publishers and gives them a good word for about what
yeah.
this new game is.
Yeah, we had a great talk. They have some great stories about how the development of this game and also what, how it was thought up and what they did to just make it this great game for you to enjoy. I will note that what we have as a prototype, the game is coming out in June to the Game Crafters version of a crowdfunding platform. So we will have links on our website also to that, so you can sign up to make sure you get your copy.
Yep. And of course, like you said, these are local Wisconsin publishers,
Yes.
so we're a little more excited about them than maybe other sometimes other things
Yes.
and projects that we talk about. So because go Wisconsin! All right, that is Koba from Crossbow Games.
All right, number 6.
Yeah, the final game on the list for today is Villagers from Sinister Fish Games, which we got to play, or at least I got to play at a board game day that was hosted here. We actually played on this table, but it was for Justin's birthday. And so this game it's kind of a card drafting game. It's got a series of piles of cards, and you're taking turns basically claiming a card from one of the piles or the row of cards that are out there, and trying to collect different villagers. And then the villagers all have different chains, like the professions there. Maybe you have one that's good at mining or whatever, and then another one that can take that ore and be a blacksmith, and then
foresters too, right?
yeah, foresters, all sorts of different like professions, and they all and so they become like little profession trees. So you're trying to collect different professions that fit into the trees that you're collecting. And at the start of the game, you can only really have 2 profession trees going off of the start of what you start the game with. So you're also then trying to, because you have to have, like, when you start a tree, it has to be at the very root. You have to have the card that lets you start it first. Like if I can't remember what the starts to all the different trees were. Yeah, there were plenty of options to get those characters as the cards came up, but you needed to get them in the right order and then be able to fill out your tree. And there wasn't a way to like reserve cards so that you could play them later. Like when you acquired them and put them into your hand and then you played them, like that was at least that you would acquire them and put them in your hand, and then at the end of the round you would play cards from your hand into your tableau, so you could play them in whatever order you needed to be able to build a tree or whatnot. So hey, maybe I'm going to pick up the blacksmith, hoping that I can get a miner first so that I can build that tree. Or hey, I know there's a miner out, and I'm pretty sure nobody else wants it, so I'll take the blacksmith now because I can see that somebody else wants that blacksmith. It was a really interesting game. I definitely want to play this one again. It was later in the game night, and I don't know that it was like a lot of times when I approach new games, especially when somebody else is doing the teach, I have a hard time fully grasping how the game works until I start playing the game and I get through a few rounds. And at that point, trying to formulate a full strategy is hard to do. So I'm oftentimes just trying to, like, what can I do? What can I make? How, out of the mistakes I've already made, how can I turn this into the best positive result I can once I have the game finally figured out? And so this was definitely one of those games where I don't think I fully understood the game from the teach, although I think the game was taught fairly well. Good job on that. But it was, as we were playing it, I was like, oh, okay. We got to that first, okay, play the cards out of your hand and put them in your, like, oh, okay. I played it, like I was like, I don't really get it, so I'm just going to take some of these cards that don't care. They're like, because there are solo characters, like solo professions that they don't belong to any tree. They can just go and be played by themselves. So I ended up acquiring a lot of those, particularly in the first round, because I like, oh hey, I don't need to worry about this tree thing that I didn't quite get. And then as watching like people play cards for their trees and whatnot, like I think I made a pretty decent run at it from a score wise near the end. But like I said, it wasn't one of those games that I fully grasped from a mechanical perspective going into it. But after I got playing it, like I was like, oh, this is kind of clever, and this mechanically, the game mechanically works pretty cool. Game art, like it's definitely not the prettiest game in the world, and
it's just not your style.
I mean, it's definitely not my style. It's definitely not a game I would have picked up or tried to play on my own. But having played it, I can see why people are really excited about this game. It's really got some clever stuff mechanically going on for a card drafter, and it works really well too. I don't know if it has like a two-player variant, or if there is even a variant to it. It's just maybe downsize the size, the amount of cards that are out or whatnot. But I could see it actually working at that size too, which is exciting. So I would like to try this game again, and hopefully sooner than later. While it's still kind of fresh in my head, so I can kind of remember how to play it, because it'd be really worth it.
So what you can do is you can play a game with it on BGA with me.
Ah, yes.
I've tried to play it a couple times on BGA, slowly getting the hang of it. Obviously, I did not read the rules very well. So I'm having some of the same issues that Conesy had when he was starting to learn to play it. But it is a little bit addicting because I want to get it. I want to get it figured out. So
it's a fun game, and I can see like why a lot of people really like this game. So that is Villagers from Sinister Fish Games.
All right, so those are our 6 new to us games that we played in May. Comment below with any games that you were new to you that you played in May and enjoyed and think we should check out. Otherwise, we will see you again in June for our next set of games that we explore.
Hey there, it's Conesy. Thank you so much for watching. We put out videos weekly here at Wisco Dice. Check out our channel for more great videos, and don't forget to subscribe. We also have more great content on our website at wiscodice.com. Of course, we do this all for you, the viewers. So please like the video if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.